Hi everybody, Martin Egginton here. This week is going to be about money and debts. Obviously, we've got a situation where energy prices are rising. We're paying much more money for our petrol and diesel, and there is going to be some price rises even further. So things are going to start getting tight. And money is something that I never used to really take any responsibility for. I didn't know how much my incomings were or my outgoings were. I didn't know what I could afford. I started to get so anxious about my situation that I stopped opening the post. So I was getting written to by my bank saying that I'd bounced a cheque and being charged £17.50 for the privilege of things like that. And all of my money was just a mess, really. So I had to gain some clarity and I had to get responsibility for it. So this week my tips are all about that, really. Now, firstly, I would suggest that if any of you out there who are listening to this video are in a situation where you are literally in terror about your finances, don't worry. And I know that's easy for me to say, but one quick fact is that you cannot be arrested or jailed for owing people money, but they will chase you for it, and you will get letters and you will get them on your back, and they won't stay off your back until you talk to them. And all I can say is that when I was in this situation, talking to them was the worst possible plan, effectively. But it is one that I had to do and face up to. The best way to do this, if you've got somebody chasing you for money, especially if it's like a serious amount of money or whatever, or you're overdue for a couple of months, then form a plan of what you can afford to offer them in the first place before you call them, because you can't promise something you can't afford. So you need the most important thing is just to start getting aware of how much you're paying out on things and how much money's coming in. So my tips this week are all about getting to the stage where you get some clarity. Now, if you are in a situation where you are being threatened, there are people out there that can help you. You don't have to do this on your own. I went through step change. Now, I still had to call my creditors. However, when I went through step change, they actually were the ones that wrote to the creditors on my behalf, which took away some of the responsibility, but equally it took away some of the fear as well, and also having that as a support. Step change are recognised by all creditors as a debt charity who help people with their debts, and they were a great help to me, both just giving me what the facts are, what the legal ramifications are, and they helped me set up a plan to pay the creditors back at one that I can afford. So what they do is they take down a list of all of your outgoings and incomings, and then they help you formulate the financial plan to pay the creditor back. But but to be able to do that, you obviously need to give them your figures. So the first thing I would say is get in touch with step change. If you're in a real situation with a creditor, just talk to them. There's also the citizen advice they will always have an accountant who will help out with any personal finances, and they will also know what the ramifications are, what your rights are. So that's another option. But do that today, because as soon as you can do that and get help, problem shared is a problem halved, and that will help you greatly, especially if you're anxious or you're even in a real dilemma. Suicide is a very real basically a problem for people with debt issues and debt worries. People do unfortunately take their own lives around this, and it's just not it's not serious enough. It feels serious enough, and you think it's the end of the world, and you feel so, sort of ashamed or frightened about what the ramifications are. But there is no reason to be like that. It is just money. However, getting help around it will alleviate some of that anxiety and stress for you. So do that today if you're really in that place. So step 2. Now, step 2 is basically write down all of the people that you owe money to, so who they are. NatWest, for example, what the amount is. So if it was a loan and you've got £12,476 out of a £15,000 loan that you've got to pay back, put that down, and then put down the interest rate that you're paying on that loan, and just write them down, and just make a list on a spreadsheet or a piece of paper that you can have in front of you, so that you're aware and you get clarity about how much you actually owe. And this gives you a perspective, effectively. So that is the reality of your financial situation, and it starts getting you back in touch with everything. When we get clarity and we get a bit more sort of responsible for our money, that is when we can start making the changes and going from being in the red back into the black. So 2 would be that: write down everything that you owe, all the people that you owe, so overdrafts, credit cards, finance agreements, and any other money that you owe, effectively, to friends, relatives. With your 3rd tip, this is really important to me. I took a little book around with me which fitted in my pocket, my jeans pocket, or my trouser pocket, and I would write down literally everything that I spend. And I tried to do that all the time. However, some days it wasn't possible. I forgot. So what I did was I made sure that I got a receipt for everything I paid for. So when a cashier says, "Would you like a receipt?" always say yes. And I would have a bunch of receipts in my back pocket, so that I could check off exactly what I've spent, and make sure that the book each day had a list of all the things that I paid out for, and also any money that comes in as well. So incomings and outgoings on each day, and that will give you a really good start on gaining clarity over your finances. Now, tip 4 is basically get a spreadsheet and a spending plan. So with all that information that you're putting into your book, start getting a Microsoft Office, what's it called, the Excel spreadsheet. You can get templates on there that will help you straight away, but try and get as many columns in there as possible that will separate, said, like the bigger grocery payments, so household items, food, personal care, so toiletries and stuff like that. Try and split them all up and put in the amounts that you're spending. And basically, when you do that, this gives you a list of everything that you're paying out each month, and that starts giving you the option of being able to move money when something big comes in. So if you get a big car bill or maintenance bill or whatever, and there's going to be a big one for that month, then you can start seeing where you can save money in other areas. So maybe you can pull some money from your clothing allowance that you give yourself each month and put that into the car section, and it will just give you a bit more control. It will start giving that sort of like reassured feeling that you're taking responsibility. Tip number 5 would be to basically do that every single week and get a monthly spreadsheet sorted so that you know what your totals are, and then do the spending plan for the next month based on what you've just paid for this month. So whatever's going on in your financial plan there, try and put it into the next month so you know what you spent this month. And again, start putting into your spending plan what you assume you're going to be paying. So you might not have had to pay any amount for your phone insurance this month, but next month you know the phone insurance starts again, so you might have to include that, so that'll be an extra item. Or you may have to pay for a holiday or a weekend away, and that needs to go into the spending plan. And again, this will all start giving you a bit more foresight as to what's going to come up. So what items are coming up in the future that could cause you to sort of have some financial sort of struggles. So this all gives you a bit more clarity and gives you a bit more assuredness, and this is a way really how you start becoming abundant and prosperous. Now, I have done a blog, and I'll be doing my daily tips on my Facebook website. If you do want more one-to-one help with this, then email me, martin@becomeunstuck.co.uk, and I can help. We'll get a schedule together, and we'll see how we can get you back in track, back on track, get in the black. Anyway, thanks for listening. Have a great week.